This is the Lawbringer, an unstoppable tank build that will crush anything in its path with a deadly warhammer. The Lawbringer is a Nord from the western half of Skyrim. This means you start out with a healthy boost to both strength and endurance, upping attack and defense simultaneously. When it comes to Birthsigns, the best is the Lord. This reduces all damage you take by 15%, which is just ridiculous and fits in perfectly with a tank build like this one. The main attributes for this build are strength and endurance. These both get boosted from the very start, so you should be starting with these at either 50 or 55 each. Strength will boost the damage you dish out with your warhammer, and is the defining attribute when it comes to offense for the build. If you want to deal more damage, then raise strength as a priority. That's not all this stat does though, as it also dictates your carry weight and gives you a slight increase to your health. This means that not only is it an offensive based attribute, but also a utility and defensive one to boot. Endurance on the other hand is entirely defensive. This is the main way your max health will be determined, plus it increases health regen outside of combat. Very easy to pick for most characters, but an extra important stat for any characters who want to be able to tank a lot of attacks. The minor attributes I went for were intelligence and willpower. Intelligence will determine how much magicka you have available. Whatever your intelligence number is, just double it and that's your max magicka. You want to ensure it's high enough to be able to cast any spells that'll assist you in combat. Willpower will increase magicka regen, which is nice for if you'd like to spam healing spells, but the big benefit we get from it is higher maximum fatigue. The higher our fatigue, the more power attacks we can perform, helping to smash in heads at every opportunity. The skills for this build are Heavy Armour, Blunt, Armourer, Block, Restoration, Mysticism, and Athletics. Heavy Armour is a very straightforward skill. The higher it is, the better use we make from our equipped armour. Most of the perks you'll be unlocking just help prevent the pieces of heavy armour you wear from breaking so quickly, but the later perks can stop these weighty pieces from slowing you down so much. Trickiest thing with this skill will be leveling it, as you basically just need to get hit a whole bunch. The Blunt skill will work alongside Strength to determine the overall damage of our warhammer. Once you reach Journeyman rank with this skill, you unlock a brilliant perk which makes it so your power attacks provide you with a shield effect. This is an insanely good effect to have, and might be my favourite perk in the whole game. Armourer is the skill which allows you to repair your weapons and armour with repair hammers. You need at least 25 in the skill if you want to be able to repair enchanted items, which you can accomplish right away by selecting the skill in the Creator class menu. What would take you a lot longer to get would be the Expert perk, which allows you to repair your items to more than 100% condition, which makes them even more effective than normal. Sadly I didn't get the skill that high, but if you're able to grind the skill like crazy, then maybe you can manage it. Block is a skill which can help you to defend against enemy melee attacks. I didn't find myself blocking with my hammer all that much, but if you'd like to be a tad more defensive and tactical, then this skill is one you can utilise. Restoration is the first and most important of our magic schools. Primarily this is going to be used to restore health. This is a character who accepts that health will be lost, so you're going to need a way to restore it. As well as health restoring, you can also fortify your health, giving you more to work with in a fight, and cure any diseases you may be unlucky enough to contract. Mysticism is our other school of magic, and this one has a couple of different uses. First is soul trapping. Fairly early on you should be able to cast a soul trap spell and fill up any empty soul gems in your inventory. The second major advantage comes in the form of reflecting damage or absorbing magic. These effects can make you even harder to take down in a fight, while also weakening your opponents at the same time. I neglected to use these effects much in the footage you're seeing, but if you're smarter than me, then you'll make sure to get these spells learned. Final skill is Athletics, and I chose this just because I wanted to move around the map a little faster. Playing in a full suit of heavy armour can sometimes make things feel a little slow, so the Athletics skill can help to counter this somewhat, allowing us to sprint a little farther than normal. Time to talk about equipment, starting with our weapon. I wielded a silver warhammer, which I dual enchanted with Soul Trap and Absorb Fatigue. The Soul Trap effect helps to ensure that I can keep charging up the hammer as I go, without having to worry about hitting an enemy with a spell before I finish them. By the effect being a main part of the weapon, you're guaranteed to always have it be active when needed. The other effect, Absorb Fatigue, does two things for you, both of which are amazing. First off is that it will regain you back some of the fatigue you spend whenever you use a power attack. The other effect you'll get is knocking out your target. By draining away their fatigue, you'll temporarily knock out whoever you hit, preventing them from doing anything for the next few seconds. It's a brilliant way to help control a fight and does wonders for your overall survivability. Onto armour now, where I went with a full set of steel, all with enchantments to help make me tougher. These were either shield effect enchantments, reducing overall damage taken, or fortify health, in order to add just a little bit of base hit points. I did end up swapping out my basic steel gauntlets with Rashida's special, which are the same item visually, but come with a 5-point boost to both armour and strength. Steel and silver aren't particularly high tier items to seek out, and I mostly chose them just for the visuals. The armour sets in this game all look incredible, but for this high and mighty sort of character, the gold accents on steel gear just felt like the perfect aesthetic. As well as armour, don't forget to also pick up some enchanted jewellery to keep you safe. I forgot about a necklace, because I'm an idiot, but I did remember to wear a couple of rings, because I'm actually very smart. The first ring is the Weatherwood Circlet, which provides a resistance effect to both fire and frost. Solid effects which should help defend you against most destruction mages and rage demons. My other ring was the Ring of Sunfire. This will give you a healthy bit of disease resistance, as well as a permanent reflect spell effect, giving mages a taste of their own medicine whenever they try to take you down. There are a few different factions I think it's suitable to join with this character. First is the Mages Guild. By working your way in with them, you will not only gain access to a huge number of spells, but also end up with free use of an altar of enchanting and spell making. The enchanting in particular is critical to this build, as the strong defensive enchantments you can put on your armour will more than make up for it not being the highest tier of quality you can unlock. Next up is the Fighters Guild. I feel like these guys end up being a little less thematic than the mages once you've made some progress through both respective questlines, but that still doesn't mean you shouldn't join up with them. As a strong melee character, you'll be a good fit for the guild overall. Probably the most important faction of all to side with would be the Blades. This is a character who is obsessed with upholding the law, so who better to help out than those who directly serve and protect the Emperor? Make good progress through the main questline, and do what it takes to restore order to Cyrodiil. This character is a melee-focused tank, who uses a mix of strong power attacks, high resistance effects, and a bit of additional magic in order to easily win any fight. When it comes to combat, you want to wade into the middle of the battle, relying on your armour and enchantments to keep you alive, and then utilising power attacks to not only deal a crushing amount of damage, but also apply a shield effect to you. This way you get some added defense, while never relenting from being on the attack. You can use various spells in the middle of a fight in order to restore missing health, or put on some reflect effects if things look nasty. But what I like to do was use a custom spell I made which provided a shield effect, a maximum hit point boost, and health regen for 15 seconds. This is typically enough time to win just about any fight, so I would cast it right before jumping into the fray. It used up all my magicka, but was well worth the cost, and meant I could just focus on swinging away with the Warhammer all the time, rather than having to switch my attention between spells as needed. If you ever find yourself in need of additional defences, then don't forget about the Nord Greater Power, Woad. This will give a 30% shield effect to the player for a full 60 seconds. Stack this with whatever other shield effects you can get from enchantments and spells, and you become nigh on unkillable for a full minute. The one downside is that you can only use this once per day, but that's hardly much of a hurdle to overcome. In terms of role-playing, I designed this character to be the true embodiment of lawful evil. They're obsessed with upholding law and order, and will do absolutely terrible things in order to achieve this goal. Feel free to slaughter bandits by the dozens and punish any lawbreakers you come across, but steer clear of committing any crimes yourself. You don't want to be the good guy, but you do want to avoid getting a bounty on your head or being on the wrong side of the law. The Lawbringer was raised in the stone city of Markarth by parents who believe themselves to be strict but fair. They taught their son to obey above all else. Authority figures were not to be questioned, and the rules must always be followed. Both his parents were also firm believers in the Empire. They had always been subjects of it, and they idolised Tiber Septim and how he unified the continent. Due to being raised with these teachings, the Lawbringer grew up as a huge fan of the Empire, and with a desire to travel to all of its lands. He wished to walk the same path that Tiber Septim had hundreds of years ago. The most straightforward way for him to achieve this was to join the military. By becoming an Imperial soldier when he came of age, he was granted the opportunity to achieve his goal of moving around the different regions, and seeing what the almighty Talos had achieved. But the army was hardly a historic sightseeing tour. As an idealistic young man who seemed to fare well in a fight, his commanders were all too happy to send him to wherever fighting was thickest in the lands. His regiment would spend weeks travelling non-stop, just to find themselves fighting against groups of bandits and marauders who had taken command of Imperial forts or were ambushing their caravans. While he was proud to do his duty for the Empire, this experience was a sad one at times, highlighting just how far society had fallen since Tiber Septim brought the lands to heel. The Lawbringer believed that things were slowly falling into chaos, with a seemingly unending amount of bandits determined to undermine the greatness of their rulers. He felt that he just wasn't doing enough with the army, and he wasn't alone. He ended up meeting several other idealists while doing his service, and together they came up with an idea. Rather than just going along with the military and fighting battles for them, they would dedicate themselves to hunting down lawbreakers of all kinds and ridding them from the lands. By becoming a force to be feared by bandits of every nation, they would use fear to bring compliance back to the Empire. And so the band of warriors spent the next several months travelling across the continent, listening to the words of locals for any rumours of lawbreakers and hunting them down with relentless zealotry. During this crusade, the group found their way down south, in the lands of the Khajiit. Here they found a small town that was utterly infested with criminal scum. Gangs of thieves robbed the passing caravans with reckless abandon, and the locals had convinced themselves that this was nothing more than normal behaviour. The righteous outrage the Lawbringer felt at this spurred him to immediate action. The group began surveillance on a particularly bold group of thieves, and while it took some time and patience, they eventually witnessed them committing a crime, robbing a merchant caravan that was trying to pass safely through the winding paths. The Lawbringers waited for the group of thieves on the path back to the village, knowing the cocky fools wouldn't be expecting anyone to stop them. When the thieves came round the corner and saw the armed resistance they were facing, fear filled their eyes. Despite this, the leader of the group was confident enough to approach the Lawbringer directly. It was a mistake on that individual's part, as the Lawbringer didn't listen to a single word they said, instead bringing down his mighty warhammer on the outlaw's skull, crushing it in a single blow. This caused the rest of the criminals to scatter, but they wouldn't be allowed to escape. The group of Lawbringers all decided to track the criminals separately, bringing them to justice no matter where they would flee to. The Lawbringer himself decided to head north and tracked a young Khajiit all the way to Cyrodiil. Here he informed the local guards of the criminal nature of the target, and got ready to help bring him to justice. As word spread of this new criminal who had made his way to the capital, an unfortunate mistake occurred. The one who brought the news and the one who the news was about were mixed up at one point, leading to the Lawbringer being falsely imprisoned as a thief. For the first time in his life, he had ended up on the wrong side of the law, but his faith in it was unshaken. He would simply wait in his cell until an authority figure arrived and set him free. If you enjoyed this build, then don't forget to like and subscribe. Hitting the like button lets me know that you want to see more Oblivion builds in the future, and subscribing helps them to show up for you when you're browsing YouTube. Hopefully anyway. Feel free to comment your thoughts on this build, and maybe check out my second channel, Bad Company Gaming, if you fancy watching me play through this game too. As always though, thanks for watching. Sarge out.